Okay, now let's
Thank
talk
you.
about Portland today. So
Sure.
I read a piece in the Oregonian, and it was about the riots and the effect on business. And this is the gist of the long article in the Oregonian this weekend that as I understood it, basically that it's exaggerated how much has happened because it's only dangerous at night and in a very small area of Portland, and only a few hundred people are involved. That's what I picked up from the Oregonian. Was my pickup accurate? And B, if it was, is the Oregonian accurate?
The Oregonian is the paper of record in Portland. It's our legacy media here. And its history is, it does good work, but as with all major media institutions and publications, the younger people that have come to replace it are of the social justice worldview, and it's reflected more in the journalism. So with that particular story, I'm glad it's talking about some of the economic impacts of the riots. I think the bias of the writer shows through in that they're trying to minimize what's happening by describing it as a small area downtown and that it's only potentially dangerous at night. I mean, that type of perspective is essentially what normalizes this. I personally do not accept that in any American city should a area of downtown be a literal no-go zone, not just for police, but for drivers or people who have different views. You can't drive through there. They set up these, they have guards essentially standing on the street to block traffic. And it's also to block law enforcement from going inside. And it's a pretty large area. It's a 3x3 block.
So is this Portland's Chaz?
It is, but it's worse in that during the day it goes away. So, you know, if you work in that area and you work during the day, you can go through the place is a mess, but otherwise you can still access it. I mean, this is in front of the federal courthouse. It's in front of the county courthouse. It's by City Hall. It's a very important area downtown. It's at night that it becomes a no-go zone. So it is like Portland's Chaz, I would say, but it's worse in that the number of people there are more radical, more extreme.
It's hard to imagine more extreme than Chaz, but it's an odd competition. So a final question. There's something I must admit I can't quite wrap my mind around. Does the average citizen of Portland not find this intolerable?
It's hard for me to gauge the views of the majority because the people who are vocal are very hard left. And by hard left, I'm not just talking about liberal or Democrat. I mean far left.
Communist, basically.
I would say extreme in some ways. They support this. They have sympathies not just for socialism and communism and anarchism. They may actually be supporters of it, and some of them are actually in government positions. I think it's quite appalling that congressman for the area, Al Blumenauer, actually shared the link for how people could donate to one of the Antifa groups who has been supplying
the congressman
people. Mm-hmm. Yes, he was the one. He's the one with the bow tie. He went to Congress who was saying that essentially what's happening in Portland is being exaggerated. Democrat politicians are downplaying this because what it reflects on them is that their inability or not having the desire to clamp down on riots in their own cities. And they're blaming it on DHS, on the Trump administration, but that's bogus because the surge of additional reinforcements to protect the federal courthouse and other federal property didn't happen in Portland until 5 weeks in. So there were already 5 weeks of daily violent protests that were happening before reinforcements came. So they're just using it now as a convenient excuse to put the blame elsewhere.
Can we read you anywhere?
Yes, so I'm published on a number of places. I just wrote my most recent piece is in the New York Post, and you can look up. I write about what the goal of these rioters are.
Oh, good, excellent. I want to get to that piece. Once again, the name of the place that we can help fund your civil suit against those who beat you. What is it again?
LibertyCenter.org. There are several clients there. I'm one of them. My legal fund is called Justice for Andy now.
Andy, keep up the good work and feel better.
Thank you so much for inviting me on and giving me the opportunity to speak.
Yes, you deserved it, to say the least. You have earned it. Did you get that name? What is it again? God, I wasn't even beaten. Center for American Liberty. You know how I'll remember that? CFL. Acronyms help a lot. Wow. Portland, Oregon. Look, Portland, Oregon exemplifies my one of my rules of life, one of my equations. Affluence plus secularism equals boredom.